I learned a lot about technology in the classroom with this class, and I used a lot of tools for the first time, and I tried a lot of tools with my students, which I'm very proud of. So the first one that I used was Nearpod. Nearpod is a free online assessment tool, and you can have up to 30 students who are able to join a testing session at a time. The pros are that it automatically grades. This saved me a lot of time towards the end of the year. It also provides instant feedback on individual students, and it's very easy to use. The students also liked that they were able to get their grade immediately. They didn't have to sit and wait for me to finish grading their quizzes. The things that I was not a big fan of is the fact that only 30 students at a time are allowed in each session, which made us copy each assignment multiple times. We do have larger classes, and so trying to get the same quiz in um, was kind of a pain. And then the code changes after 24 hours, so if a student is absent, then they have to get a new code, not the one posted in classroom. And you also have to write down the scores right away or they disappear. Student benefits, well, first off, it's tech. They could use their one-to-one, which is always a plus. Anytime that they are able to use their Chromebook, it's immediate buy-in. They also loved that they got the instant feedback. Again, they didn't have to wait for me. And it's really easy. On student end, they just type in a code and it takes them to the test immediately. For the language learners, it did enhance language development with them. We did this and made individual assessments that would gauge their academic language as well as their social language, and then just gauging the ability to comprehend what's happening in the test. Here's an example of what we did with Nearpod. And so you can see here that this is my home page, and we have all these different quizzes. You can see the multiple ones from each quiz, and that shows you that we had to copy it. And in order to copy it, you just click on these three buttons, and you click on duplicate. And that's how Laura Hollis and I were able to make a new copy for each of our students. You can see what you're doing and what the students will receive by clicking on the preview button, and it takes you to the actual page. We started out with a poll. It was kind of glitchy. It didn't always take them to the quiz. We found that to be kind of annoying, but most of the time it worked, and you just click the arrow. We used this again as a comprehension tool. Did the students understand what was happening in Harry Potter? Were they able to get those ideas? So, excuse me, in order to see how they were doing in live time, and you can actually upload the code directly to Google Classroom, and the code takes them right to the test. There's no messing around with it. But in order to see how they're doing in live time, you just click on the live session. Student name and score appears here, and then you can see how they're doing on each individual question, if they get it correct or not. If we see every student is not passing with question 5, maybe that's a good way for us to gauge it. The circle is a tool that you can see how many students are getting the questions correct and incorrect. And so you can kind of scroll over. We used about 15 questions overall, and it was really simple to use. You can also get emails regarding a report, and it's a little bit more detailed, and they send it right to your login account. So that was really very nice. If you want to make a new quiz, you just click new, and then it takes you to all of the choices in whether you want to make a poll or a quiz, and if what style you want it. We stuck with the multiple choice style, and we really found a lot of success with it. So it was pretty nice. Part 2, I gave the students a new tool to try, and that was an assignment using Storybird. Students were assigned to create a Storybird picture book about their life at Hogwarts. The classroom that I did this with, they have very diverse needs. I have, several students with IEPs and 504s. There are no EL students currently in the class, although 3 were recently exited from the program and receive consult minutes as needed with the EL instructor. Overall, our experience was very positive. We, on our side, found it easy to use and easy for the kids to navigate. Once they signed in with their account, they knew exactly what to do. It's amazing how kids these days can just sign in and they got it. We really like the colorful illustrations as well. I got a lot of positive feedback. And the fact that the final product was really nice looking and it looked like a real book, but in digital form. It was a nice presentation. The students themselves gave me some feedback. Anytime I use a new tool, I look to see their perspective. One student said it was very easy to use, but don't forget to save. In our Google era, a lot of the students are used to it saving automatically for them, and that's just plain not the case with this. They will lose their work if they do not save it. Another student commented that the pictures are very pretty, but you get stuck once you pick one. They're talking about the Illustrator package. Once you choose an Illustrator, you only get illustrations that fit that theme. Another student said it's cool to write a book and see how it would look as an actual printed book. You can actually order the hard book, or the bound printed book, which I thought was cool. And of course, another student commented on the illustrations about how there should be a way to get pictures that aren't within that same package. So here's an example of a student who was recently exited in the storyboard they created. A Day in the Life of Hogwarts. You can see the nice illustration that he has here. His home language is Polish and he was only exited about a year ago. So he really enjoyed this picture, and then you can kind of see here the way that he formatted his book. Something that struck me is the fact that these are very short. One of the requirements was that they needed to write longer paragraphs, and then also he uses words directly from the text. Ravenclaw is intelligent and values knowledge. Slytherin is cunning and ambitious. We take potions, transfiguration. So instead of using these pictures and formatting his words to fit the pictures, he's just kind of going along with it. You can really see that here with the fox, but his actual story is talking about Quidditch, so it doesn't exactly match, which I found that to be pretty interesting. Same with this one. He chose another abstract picture of a bee. It doesn't really match. Again, it kind of matches. So he really tried to fit what was going on, and I thought that this is a great tool to encourage, especially EL students, to convey what they know without the pressure of it being a formal paper with that academic language. So I thought that was really important. So he shared this link with me, and that's how we're able to view it now because I requested to have a copy of it. So it was easy to have them post the link in Google Classroom. And it was super simple for them to use. They went back, they edited, and he really did, attempt to convey what he knew about the book, even if he was copying the language directly out of the book instead of using synonyms, which it's just going to happen. Pros and cons for Yale students. I did like that it allowed for visual inspiration, although, not every student excelled in that. It also was a less formal style of writing, which I appreciated. There wasn't as much tricky academic language. Knowledge is conveyed through storytelling as opposed to a verbal standing up in front of a class presentation. And it was a great way to practice those speaking and listening skills by partnering up and reading to each other. And it was just very laid back, and I thought that was a great way to assess their understanding. I was lucky enough to observe an 8th grade language arts class in which 3 EL students were in the classroom. The teacher was using a new tool to me, which is called WeVideo. I think it looked similar to Flipgrid. And she was modeling the project, which was for students to create an infomercial in which they would have to sell the necessity of specific punctuation. There were some benefits I could see, positives and negatives. Some of the positives were that students were able to write a script and practice in their groups before going in front of the camera. Each student had an opportunity to have a speaking part, and I really liked that they didn't have to present in front of a large group. Instead, they were just able to have a non-formal presentation in front of a camera. So if a student wasn't being loud enough or if they weren't, enunciating, they were able to go back and edit and reshoot. Some of the cons, however, were the volume pronunciation and also the cadence. I noticed that, especially EL students, they would either rush or they would talk very slowly and quietly. It was so stressful for nervous students who could see it in their eyes that they were a little bit nervous about being in front of a camera and having to speak. Things that I would definitely do, and I'm probably going to take this concept and make it my own. I think having very diverse learning groups would be a positive. Having students who are really strong in speaking and listening to model that kind of performance and to model those skills for students who are a little bit weaker struggle with that. I also think it's important for the teacher to offer feedback on the written scripts because that way, I mean, they're able to organize their thoughts before standing up, but just making sure that things are aligned, they make sense, and building that kind of confidence. And again, modeling the presentations or offering student examples, and definitely allowing more time for retakes and editing. I know students are always nervous getting up in front of the camera, so I understand you can't spend too much time, but having that time built in is definitely valuable. The last tool I found and I love and I wish I had more time to use it was Quizlet. It is free online flashcards and vocabulary games. You could actually use this with any kind of matching. So next year teaching social studies, events and dates, or important people and places. It is very easy to use. It's free. And it creates 8 different ways for students to practice these matching sets. And they also have free pre-made vocabulary sets and pretty much everything under the sun. The only con I found so far is that the kids are absolutely obsessed with playing. So here's my sample of a Quizlet that I made and kind of how to use it. So this is my account, and a really nice feature that they just added is the fact that you can record your own voice now in order to make your study sets, which is super valuable for EL students who are practicing getting a hang of the language and pronunciation. I think that it's awesome. Quizlet just recently added this feature, and I could see the value. So the study sets that I've made, and you can just click on your study sets. I've made a couple Harry Potter ones. That was our last unit. And you can kind of see how they show up. So this is the first one that I made. And it's really nice because it breaks it down and it kind of scaffolds the learning for them. The first thing that it asks them to do is simply learn the terms. They're able to go through and it just gives them like a quick tutorial. Here's the word, here's the definition, here's what you need to know. And then they can practice flashcards, writing, which is important, spelling. It gives them a simple test. And then it goes more into games. Matching is more of a game. And then obviously Gravity Blaster, which is very fun. And then Google Live, they can play live against one of their classmates, which was a huge hit with the students, as you could probably imagine. If you're making a new site, you just click on the Create button. You have to title it, so we could just title it vocab. And you just type it right in there. You can even upload them from Word or Google Docs. And then you have to have at least 2 terms, and they have to be things that match. I like that you can voice record it. Again, I think that's very valuable. And so you just enter it in there, and in this case, it could be Dumbledore. And what does he do? He's the headmaster. And then let's do Snape. And what does Snape do? He's the potions master. And so it's really simple for them. It's really simple to create it, and all you do, you click on create, and it makes it for you, which is super, super awesome. And then you've got all of those different things. You can just share it right on Classroom. So the pros are, again, option for audio, which I think is great. And then you can really go through the multiple learning styles, which are accommodated, including audio. And also the possibility for of finding your own. So the cons are that it's a fast-moving game and sometimes students struggle to keep up, and the academic language, depending on it, can be tricky. Also, spelling has to be exactly as it's formatted and phrased as in the answer. Overall, I learned a lot in this classroom, and I'm anxious to try out new tools again for next year and keep learning as well. So thank you very much.